Okay, howdy everybody, and welcome to the Republic, the Seven-Headed Beast, casting off the Great Whore. So this is the next installment in the series on the Republic. So let's just get right into it. The Republic, casting off the Great Whore. Much better. In this installment of the Republic, we are going to look at how the papacy, the office of the Pope, controlled politics and nations for many centuries through what we now call divine right to rule. Up to this point, in review and summary, we had a nation of aligned states that gave the common people a voice in government through the election of representatives. Their wild desires were held in check by the members of the Senate, duly elected or appointed members of the patrician or nobility class. The will of those in power was enforced by law or, failing thus, by the military supporting those in power. As the Republic of Rome floundered in corruption and compromise, public office became little more than a show for the masses. Here, it is important to recall that Julius Caesar was from the gens or clan Iulii, who claimed to descend directly from the goddess Venus. This practice of deification of one's lineage helped out with the Roman practice of cultus. In short, this is from the same root as our word cultivate, and was the practice of, quote, giving gods their due. It was the job of the gods to provide for the people, and the job of the people to take care of, or cultus, the representative of the gods on the earth, e.g., the patricians. Rather than stamping out worship of idolatrous gods into oblivion and promoting the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as our Heavenly Father through his Son, Jesus Christ, the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, Constantine, continued with the small g gods. He did this by, quote, correcting the practices already adopted by peoples, tribes, and nations conquered and to be conquered. We see these examples today with twisted holidays having pagan origins, such as Cupid, shooting people with arrows to fulfill lustful desires, being named after Saint Valentine, i.e., Valentine's Day. With Constantine's claim to be the bishop of the people outside of the church, he bestowed upon himself this cultus. What a fantastic gig to be the next vicar of Christ after Peter. Well, that's the claim anyway. Over time, the office of Pope was separated from the office of Holy Roman Emperor, with emperors eventually being done away with. The popes, whomever they were at any given time, were the sole determiner of whether or not someone, emperor or king, had cultus, or, quote, the divine right to rule. Once this status was legitimized by a pope, a king ruled over his kingdom with the blessing of God, not our God. So long as a king stayed in submission to the pope, they had few worries. When they did deviate from permissions granted by the pope, a king risked excommunication, that is, expulsion from the church. In other words, almost everyone was convinced that the Pope had the power and or authority to destroy not only a person's body, but also a person's soul. Quite the deception. How did a Pope keep such a tight rein over kings? Through a king's nobles. e.g., earls, dukes, viscounts, etc. If a king stepped out of line with a pope, then a pope could simply threaten the nobles with excommunication if said king wasn't brought into check. Just about all of European history tells such stories over and over again. While the focus here has been on the Pope and Catholicism, it is important to note that this is the exact same methodology used by two other major religions claiming ties in Jerusalem: Judaism and Islam. Religious henchmen threatening and bullying kings and politicians with the threat of losing their spiritual well-being. And should they not be compliant to the religious authorities' wishes, a word of discontented anger need only be sent to the masses of people that let a leader rule. Violence will ensue to remove said leader. Moving back to the West, the spiritual authority of both the Pope and monarchs, this right to rule, began to be questioned. The most famous examples were Martin Luther on the religious side and King Henry VIII on the monarchical side. It was primarily through both of these men that the transformation of Protestantism started. One, to get their own way, Henry wanted a divorce denied by Pope Clement VII, thus forming the Church of England, and one fighting the open corruption of indulgences, i.e., buying your way out of sin. In these two primary examples, it was shown that papal supremacy was jarred. The great horse seat upon the saddle not as sure as before. Kings still, to this day, seek approval or blessing to rule from the Pope or other religious authority, as millions of their subjects still answer spiritually to the great whore. And while Henry VIII and Martin Luther provided alternatives to a pope, followers of such denominations still have their eyes on the great whore, just through a different lens. True to the form of the institutions they claim to have left behind, those disassociated monarchies and Protestant denominations demanded fealty to their own ideals and doctrines. However, once the dominoes of domination began to fall, anyone and everyone questioning authority decided to question all authority. Commingled with greed, those seeking freedom from religious persecution of various religious authorities turned their focus from their homeland and fixed their eyes upon the New World, an opportunity to become independently wealthy, an opportunity to believe in God with no overseer dictating your every step and breath. What started with Spain and continued with France, those under the oppressive thumb of the King of England and Keeper of the Faith, a subtitle of the English monarch, decided to try their hand at becoming colonists in the Americas. We generally forget about the ties that bind us to the past, the lineage of greed, control, and power that stretches across the ocean, settling in a land ripe for the taking. Seemingly boundless natural resources, rulers thousands of miles and an ocean away, there was time for the beast system to recuperate and recover. Seeds planted in the souls of them who would dare and try the journey, that each man is sovereign to himself and could unite with others to protect this common individual sovereignty. A system without popes, without kings, self-rule and self-determination, the freedom to do and be whatever one desires. It was time for the Republic to rise again. Well, almost there. So thank you for checking out this installment. And of course, next we're going to get to the establishment of the United States Republic, or the reestablishment of the Republic. But we're going to take a look at that, and we're working our way up to the present day and the current affairs that we are all involved in. I love you all. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.